Hello and welcome to Board Now's debut video on his Cult Rants YouTube channel. This is episode 101, the pilot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, entitled Welcome to the Hellmouth. And so my journey begins here of reviewing every episode of the cult television show, personally one of my favourites, and I hope to sell some of you on the unique content of this great show and hope to convert one or two new viewers to Whedon's show. I hope you enjoy my reviews, and at some point I hope to be reviewing the spin-off show which was Angel, which debuted in 1999. But for now, let's dive into the pilot episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Welcome to the Hellmouth. So compared to many television pilots, Welcome to the Hellmouth is a pretty slick and fun introduction to the Buffy universe, even with some of the rough edges and characters and the pacing. It's pretty solid overall and does a good job of setting up some of what you can expect moving forward with the show. There is much promise for greater things as we move along. One thing that bugged me a little bit about the 12-episode debut season was how cringeworthy the voiceover is to some of the episodes. The whole speech about in every generation there is a chosen one and all that, which was later re-recorded, redubbed with the voice of series regular Anthony Stewart Hall doing the voice. And his voice I preferred personally doing that part, but it's still very cheesy and I didn't really think added much. In the second now that was much better. So the opening sequence to Welcome to the Hellmouth sets up the subversive nature of Buffy as a show and how Joss Whedon and his fellow writers like to set up standard genre conventions only to sweep the rug out from under the audience. Julie Benz of Dexter fame, yes, his wife Rita, is alone after dark in Sunnydale High School. She is with a creepy-looking jock, and the expectation of the scene is that he's going to turn out to be a vampire, or at least some sort of threat to her. They're breaking in after dark. But then, as I said, the carpet is very much swept from under you when she's acting all innocent in one breath, but then turns it around on him, and it turns out to be she who is the vampire and he is the victim. So a subversion there to open up the episode and then cue those iconic opening title sequence, the theme, one of the most enjoyable and memorable of 90s television. You also get the very gothic looking titles as well, which almost go against the sort of the raw, rugged, thrashing soundtrack which is accompanied it. So that's an interesting touch. So welcome from her tormented dream, Buffy Summers, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, is thrust into the fast-moving LA lifestyle of Sunnydale High. So Sarah Michelle Gellar, at the time a virtual unknown, and that very much put her on the map, but previously the role of Buffy had been played in the film by Kirsten Swanson. There was a film originally in 1992 which did not go down a treat, and which many fans consider far inferior and not a great experience to rewatch. But it's interesting thinking of the film and its origins, some of which is captured in this early season, but a lot has been changed as well. But it is referenced in the timeline, and why the incident at the end of that film is essentially why Joyce and Buffy have moved to Sunnydale, although it's been reworked as well a little bit. And what's interesting is that Charisma Carpenter, who plays Cordelia in Buffy, was originally one of the contenders to play Buffy in the show, and that's interesting when you see the sort of parallel of the two characters, and we'll get into that more as we move along. So Cordelia befriends Buffy early on and takes her under wings, tries to show her the ropes. But again, in a little bit of a twist, Buffy has already bumped into nerdy Sander Harris, played by Nicholas Brendan, and he immediately is attracted to her, drawn to her. And also Willow Rosenberg, played by Alison Hannigan, who in an unaired pilot was played by a different actress actually, but switched to Hannigan for the full series, and I think, yeah, everyone agrees that was the right move. You really can't see anyone else playing Willow Rosenberg. Hannigan really shows up in character. She's almost like a fully formed character from the bat. And so you have this interesting dynamic when Buffy, yeah, is kind of on this path with Cordelia to repeat her previous lifestyle when she was the popular girl at her original high school. But at the same time she is charmed by Willow and Sander, and she sees them as friends as well. So yeah, there's this conflict because of course Cordelia's on the opposite side of the fence to Willow and Sander. There's sort of heat and tension there. She besmirches them and runs them down every chance she can get. So there's the conflict, and so it does take a twist where over time Willow and Xander become Buffy's close friends, and not Cordelia. I mean, as events transpire in the episode, Cordelia becomes more sort of grossed out with Buffy, and so their friendship is put aside, and things develop, and yeah, we see the formation of the Scoobies. And I guess in a way the formation, and Anthony Stewart Head as school librarian Giles slash Buffy's watcher is the other part of that dynamic. He freaks Buffy out upon their first meeting in the school library. So there's a clip of Giles dropping the book on the desk, says Vampira on it, and that really freaks Buffy out. But he is her new watcher, and he has to try and persuade her to fulfill her destiny. And he reveals that Buffy's transfer to Sunnydale was no coincidence. And I really love Giles' explanation here then about the Hellmouth attracting all sort of ghouls and demons and various other supernatural forms, and it's a really beautiful bit of dialogue, very well delivered by Anthony Stewart Head, and you can immediately see the chemistry between Buffy and Giles. They have this father-daughter sort of bond between them, which really grows and develops throughout the show. And despite being at first reluctant to accept her destiny, Buffy eventually is persuaded. Then she has to take on this responsibility. And again, it's, the show is a metaphor for people growing up and changing and taking responsibility. So, yeah, this is important for Buffy to grow. And then in the next sequence we see the Bronze for the first time. This is the legendary club which becomes the regular school hangout for Buffy and her friends. And we see the first sort of challenge for Buffy as Willow gets in over her head with a boy who then, it turns out is a vampire. And that's Buffy's first challenge. Essentially, she's there, she encourages Willow, to talk to boys and what have you. But then obviously her advice kind of backfires because it turns out being a vampire. Willow, Buffy says seize the day, and Willow does, but with a guy who turned to be a vampire. So let's have a little breakdown of the strong points and the weaknesses in Welcome to the Hellmouth. So it takes a bit of time for some of the cast to gel. For example, Brandon. Though there is a strong bond established in the opening episode. There's some distinct, crisp and sharp dialogue and witty humour, including a great scene where the dorky principal Flutie basically rips up Buffy's record from the previous score, as a statement to try and say, this is a fresh start for you, only to realise they might actually need that for the school records. So he attempts to sellotape it back together in pieces using states. So that is really sharp, well thought out comedy, brilliantly delivered, and it just sets up the show really well. You will see some of the finest comedy on television, essentially, and yet the way they mould it into the show, the other elements, the supernatural elements, the drama, is what makes it such a rich television show. It all works, it all functions. You never really feel like it's out of place, so to speak. And there's quite an edgy and subversive tone early on. I like only how it hints at some characters. My favourite scene was in the library, and Giles, just as I said, dramatic speak about all the fictional creatures Buffy had heard of and were real and present in Sunnydale. Buffy's sarcastic response is perfectly delivered by Geller, I think, showing her comic chops from the off. The quips from Buffy become a crucial part of the character during these early seasons, but it is much more, and to add to Geller's performance, the relationship with Giles is another selling point of the series, and the two have great chemistry. I do believe in the world of Sunnydale and of its character, but at the times the pacing of this opening was a little bit rushed, and some of the dialogue felt a bit too cheesy, a bit like Cordelia, for example, even for 1997. And that's maybe a fault with the debut season in general, when they sort of smooth that out later on. But yeah, it was a little bit of an issue in this opening episode. However, the twist that opened and the open-ended finish at the point where you expect a resolution, is a nice shot in the arm, and again consistent with how the show would play with narrative form and structure moving forward. So a solid start to a show with so much more depth and excitement to come. And I will rank each episode, and it's quite fitting how each one will be ranked with stakes. So out of 5, and for Welcome to the Hellmouth, I give it 3 stakes out of 5. Join me next time for episode 2 of the first season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that's called The Harvest, essentially part 2 of this opener. Until then, be sure to rate this video and leave any comments that spring to mind on the episode or on my review. Feedback is more than welcome. Catch you guys soon. Goodbye.